Dan Poynter, who, as I've said before, is probably, I'm pretty sure I'm right in this, our most repeated guest over the 37 years that we've been in existence. Why? He's a great guest. He's an icon in the business. But he's going to be introduced by a gentleman down the lane here, Bill Frank. Bill Frank has been a member of our organization for several years. He worked for Kinko's in the 1990s. He began in the book printing business around that time, I think the early 2000s. And then he had a talk radio show in Ventura, California. And many of you probably were interviewed by him. He did a great job. He was the most systematized guy that I've ever seen in talk radio. He really did his homework, and he did a great job talking to the clients. And he's been a friend of Dan Poynter's since 1999. He's been a member of the book Publicists since the year 2000. In fact, he paid his dues tonight. Thank you very much. Is the check okay to deposit within the next 30 days?
Give it a day.
Oh, that's good. So, Bill Frank met Dan Poynter about 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon, coming down from Santa Barbara, and here he is to do the official introduction of Dan Poynter. Bill Frank.
Thank you, Irwin. Thank you very much. Before I get to our featured speaker, just a real quick housekeeping thing. If you look around your table, most of you have in front of you this handout. It's a very important handout. It has all of the notes for Dan's talk tonight. So you can just look through this as he's going through the talk, and you can make your own notes on the side. In back, you'll find that there are lots of resources in the back of this book as well, things that you'll want to refer to when you get back home. So this is a great thing to have. Also at your table, there's an evaluation questionnaire. After the speech, if you would fill that out and turn them in, Dan always likes to take a look at the evaluations as well. So now, our featured speaker for tonight. Our speaker tonight is Pioneer, which means that he's been around a very long time. He's a researcher, which means he spends a great deal of time online. Our speaker tonight is a leader because he's served our industry in a variety of different functions over the decades. And our speaker tonight loves to cover what's new, primarily because he's easily bored. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Publishing, Dan Poynter.
My name is Dan Poynter, and I approve this message. I understand that we're going to do a couple things different tonight. Normally, my presentations are with PowerPoint, but having been in this room before, I realize it is very, very wide, and we'd have to put the screen out here, and the projector out there, and the people out there wouldn't be able to see. And so I'm going to introduce you to a PowerPoint presentation. And what I'm doing here is I'm giving you all of the slides. People always like to have all the slides. But then starting on page 7, I think, I have the handouts. And I'm very pleased to share with you the handouts that I have because they're voluminous and very detailed. And this hasn't been shared with anyone before. Now, I understand that some of you were a little bit anxious because you heard that I might not be here tonight, and I appreciate that. I don't know where you heard that, but I suspect it was from Irwin Zucker. Now, please understand that he's a PR fly. He's one of the best PR guys in the world. And, you know, you really can't believe anybody who's trying to sell you something. So take that under advisement. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the next slide. And I don't know who it was, but years ago, somebody came up with the line that to be successful, It all depends on who you know. I'm not sure that was ever true. It is certainly not true today. To be successful as an author, or in just about any other field, it all depends on who knows you. And that is what we're going to talk about tonight, making sure that people know who you are. I have been saying now for many, many years, and it is now more true than ever, that it doesn't matter if you sell off to a large New York publisher, sell out to a large New York publisher, or publish yourself, the author has to do the promotion. Publishers do not promote books. You can ask anybody who's been published by a large New York publisher, they'll say, well, they printed it and they distributed it to bookstores, but nobody knew it was there, and after a few weeks, the books came back. Yeah, well, welcome to reality. That's because you weren't out there telling the public who might be interested in your particular type of book that you have books in the bookstore. Publishers don't promote books, and a few months later, of course, the books come back, and the book has a slowly ticking copyright date on it, and nobody wants last year's book. People in the book trade, like the bookstores, for instance, they look at the front cover, they look at the back cover, they go to the copyright page to see what the date is, which is why we've been post-dating our books for years. Wrong to them. Another thing that's happened, which is very interesting, is that we used to say that nonfiction was easier to sell than fiction. Okay. Whenever somebody is quoting statistics, we have to distinguish between fiction and nonfiction. Fiction is entertainment, and because it's entertainment, it has to compete with other forms of entertainment, not just other books, but taking your grandchildren to the zoo, walking on the beach, taking in a film. It has to compete for people's time, and people are very short of time today. Nonfiction doesn't compete because people buy nonfiction to learn something or solve a problem. And so if they get into cats, is it?
No, kids, yeah.
Cats, yeah. And they want information on a specific aspect, like breeding Persian cats. They go to Amazon or they go to the bookstore and they look up the books on the subject and they make a buying decision because they're looking at this book thinking, is this going to answer my questions? Is this going to solve my problem? Well, things have happened. Things have changed. And if you look at the Amazon million seller ebook list, so far all I found there are works of fiction. Fiction has risen to the top. It's become a lot easier to sell. And it would be a lot of fun to sit around with experts like Gene Schwartz and Bill Frank and try to figure out just what's going on here. But there are changes going on. There are a lot of changes going on. Now the schedule here, this is getting into slide number 4. I was told that I'd have 60 minutes, and so I'll start now. There's a handout. For those of you who came in late, there are more handouts on the back table there. And the handout has more details and more explanation. So, and it would be helpful if you'd hold your questions to the end. I mean, we can get into a few questions if necessary, but I kind of lose my place when we do that. And Irwin's going to throw us out of here in a few minutes. All people are not the same. You have introverts and you have extroverts. And remember that whether you sell out to a publisher or publish yourself, the author has to do the promotion. And most of us introverted writers don't really like doing autograph parties and other things, other events out in public. And quite often we do radio and TV and those things because we realize that they're good for the book and we're there for the book. And we also realize that it's good personal self-development. We should be doing these things. We should stretch and get out of our area. But many of us don't really care to do those things. The difference between the introvert and the extrovert is that the introvert usually feels uncomfortable in crowds. And so I'm going to show you a bunch of ways to promote from home. It's a lot more efficient to promote from home, by the way. The extroverts tend to have short attention spans, and they need help with their writing. And that's why there are so many ghostwriters in the business. The important thing to realize is that we don't want to pull you out of your skin. Whatever you want to do, whatever is fun to you, you should do those things. And some other things you should skip or you should hire out so that you focus on the things that you like. For example, if you like to do radio, I will tell you that almost the only way to get on radio is with a book. And there are a lot of frustrated extroverts out there who wish they had a book because they'd love to do radio. So anyway, I want you to do those things that you enjoy and avoid the other ones. You don't have to do everything. You can't read the next slide there, but it's me in a t-shirt about 1972. And across the t-shirt it says, "Please buy my books." And I would wear that to parachute events. And I was so well known for wearing that book to parachute events that people, if I showed up without it, people would say, "Where's the shirt?" And I haven't worn that for years, and people are still asking me where the shirt is. So, and that's a way you don't want to be shy, and you can promote your books by putting it on a t-shirt, and then say, "Yeah, this thing bothers me too, but Irwin told me to wear it." Okay, let's go to page 2. You can look at this page, and if you look at the numbers down below, that was page 2. Oh, excuse me, I guess it's page 7. Anyway, let's talk about the forums and the groups. There are a lot of forums, a lot of groups, some websites out there where you can list yourself through. I mean, we're talking about Google and LinkedIn and even Facebook. And most of you have not updated your profile. Most of you haven't looked at your profile in 6 months. It's time to go look at it and punch it up, make it look a little better. You don't have to, it doesn't take you that much time, and once you do one profile and you go to another website or forum or group, the others will be easier. So, update your profile and then add photographs. I was astonished. A couple of months ago, I went into a couple of these forums and groups, and I updated my profile, and most of them allow 1 photograph. And some of them allow 6 photographs. Well, I'm sure you can find 6 photographs of yourself. And it's a little hard to see here in the next shot, but 2 days later, I went and I happened to be doing some surfing at Google Images, and I typed in my name, and here are all these pictures of me. And I found this very helpful last week when somebody called me and said, "Yeah, we've got this article that you wrote, and we'd like to have a picture with it." And I said, "Go to Google Images, take your choice." So you don't have the same headshot with everything that's printed. You want to build up your area of expertise. You want to, we'll get into LinkedIn and Yahoo and Google and Facebook in just a minute. And you'll be surprised at how many people are looking for authors and for speakers at LinkedIn and some of these other sites. A couple of days ago, I was surprised I got this notice from LinkedIn. "Dan, congratulations, you are one of the most..."
I got that too.
What's that?
I got that too.
I can't hear you.
I got that too.
I was going to get to that. Yeah. You're one of the most referred to, or whatever. Well, it turns out that that makes me 1 out of 10 million. But I just thought it was very interesting. You're 1 out of 10 million. Oh, 2 million? Okay.
We're the same.
People often ask me about Facebook, and I have a very negative opinion of Facebook. I don't like anybody because all of a sudden I start getting stuff from Facebook, and it's just overwhelming. And it says here that more than 25% of U.S. Facebook users say they plan to reduce the amount of time that they spend on Facebook this year. Good luck, I don't think they'll wind up doing it. But that's, and I love this, how to make money with Facebook. 4 steps, log on to Facebook. Go to account settings, press deactivate your account, and go to work. We were talking here at dinner, and I promised to poll the audience here. How many of you are subscribers to, not members of, but subscribers to Facebook? Okay, hold your hands up because I'm going to, he's writing it down, that's why. 40%. How many of you are subscribers to LinkedIn? That's maybe 45%. How many are, I lost myself here. Twitter. Okay, Twitter. 20%. And I don't know where I was. How many of you subscribe to HARO, Help a Reporter Out? 5%. How many of you subscribe to Google Alerts? Google Alerts. 5%. How many of you are listed at Wikipedia? 1%. 1%. Okay. Let me talk to you a little bit about HARO, Help a Reporter Out. And there are 4 of them listed here, and HARO happens to be the biggest one, and they're first, but you've got a reporter connection, a pitch rate, and so on. A year and a half ago, just before the BEA Book Fair, I was scanning through my daily HAROs, and I said, oh, somebody's interested in doing an article on hotel taxes in New York City. And I had lots of recent experience. And so I wrote them and sent them a copy of my past bill. I found out after staying there for more than a week, when I went to check out, not before, but when I went to check out, I was paying $55 a night in New York taxes. Wow. That's not for the hotel. That's taxes on the hotel. And so the woman contacted me, got a whole bunch of information, and the day after the BEA Book Fair, sent her photographer over to my hotel, and I got 2 columns in the New York Times of me and a picture of me sitting on the bed reading my hotel bill. Now, that's pretty good. And what does it cost you? Nothing. You register, you read these things every day, and you pick out something from time to time. So please sign up for HARO, and that's on, I thought I had all of these numbered properly, but
Page 3.
but anyway, yeah, page 10 here. I don't know where
Mine says page 3.
It tells you exactly how to do it, and it lists all 4 places. Also, let me go back here to LinkedIn and Yahoo groups and the other groups. I've got them all listed here for you. You just have to go on and sign up and fill out your profile, and that's pretty simple. And then, of course, you'll start getting the daily feeds, and you'll be able to help other people. You'll be able to help out when people have questions. You'll make contacts with people. You'll make contacts with people who have books on your subject. They're your new friends, and you want them to know about your book. Now, whenever you post at any one of these sites, you always end, you sign your name and your URL and the book title that matches that particular listing. Of course, they always have a place up above where you sign your name and your website address, but that doesn't necessarily get printed. And that's why you end it with your name, your URL, and your book title. You want to make sure it's listed. Now, when somebody reads that on one of these forums or a blog or whatever, they realize that, oh, you're a published author. You're an important person. What you say is important. And they get to know you after a few weeks because you're posting reasonably regularly. This is great publicity. You're going to get people writing back to you with more information for your revision, and people can be writing back to you with ideas for promoting your book.
This is Arrow.
Excuse me?
Are you still talking about Arrow?
No, Google Alerts.
No, we're talking here about page 7, 8, and 9, which is the groups and forums, starting with LinkedIn, progressing to Yahoo groups and other groups. Now, I apologize for the paperpoint presentation, because it's not as smooth or as clear as if we had half of this up on the screen and the rest was sitting in front of you. So, after Harrow, somewhere here, let's talk about Google Alerts. Google Alerts, and obviously most of you don't know this, so Google Alerts is a free clipping service, and it works at the speed of light. It's very fast. When you go into Google Alerts and you put in the title of your book, you put in your name, your company's name, and other keywords. So for my parachute books, I have parachute and skydiving and things like that. And whenever one of those keywords appears anywhere online, you get an alert, free. So when I was doing my air travel handbook, I finished the book and it was about 144 pages. And I thought, oh my God, I forgot Google Alerts. So I typed in air travel. I didn't want all the air, I didn't want all the travel, I just wanted, quotation marks, air travel. And in the next 5 weeks, my book grew from 144 pages to 223 pages. And all that information was brand new. It was all current stuff. And this is one of the most important things you can do when you're writing a book today, is to get current stuff. And you can do that with Google Alerts. Very few of you apparently are listed at Wikipedia. If you look on pages, let's see, go back to pages 13 and 14. About 3 weeks ago, I got a call from a radio show in Hawaii. She said, can you do something at 11 o'clock for us? I said, sure. I said, what are the demographics? What do your people want to hear? Who are they? So she explained who her listeners were. And I sent her a bunch of information on that would be of interest to those people and URLs from things on my website. She called up 10 minutes before the show and I said, did you get the material I sent you? She said, I sure did. She said, it's pretty hard to believe that you've done all those things. So I checked you out on Wikipedia. Yeah. So if I hadn't been there, what? That's why it's so very, very important. Now, Wikipedia used to have a bad name. It has a very good name now. To get something listed on Wikipedia, it has to pass a human eye, and it also has to pass an automatic bot. It's very difficult to get something up at Wikipedia. The the person that I use is Andy Davis, and he's down here in the corner, andywdavis@yahoo.com. Andy is known to them, they like him, they trust him. So he puts something up. Now once he puts something up for you, if you want to add a picture or something, that usually goes right through because you've been accepted the first time. But it is difficult the first time. And so, and he can put you up there for a couple $100. It's not a huge amount. And then you can add more material at any time and build it up bigger and bigger. The most important thing is just to be listed in Wikipedia. As I said, if you're not in Wikipedia, you don't exist. And next page, we're going to page 4, yes it is. Will Rogers said, get someone else to blow your horn and the sound will carry twice as far. Well, if you're listed and have a nice profile at LinkedIn and you have a nice write-up at Wikipedia, it's like somebody else said it. We know we did it, but you're creative writers. So, it's like somebody else said it, and it's in print, it's on the screen. So people are more likely to believe it. And books as seen on social media. Moving on to blogs. I often get my audience's attention by saying, do not start a blog. What do you mean? Everybody says I need a blog. Well, first of all, I said don't start a blog. If you start a blog, tomorrow morning, how many readers do you have? Your mom. What good is it going to do you to write for weeks and weeks and weeks if you have very few readers? And this is why I say don't start a blog. But the secret is to go and find blogs on your book's subject. There are 165 million blogs out there. I'm sure there are some that cover your subject. Now, you want to get as narrow, as targeted as possible. So let's say your book is on breeding Persian cats. Okay? Not cats, not breeding cats, not just Persian cats, but breeding Persian cats. We're getting it real narrow. And you want to make a list of all of these. And when I was doing this for the Air Travel book, I think I came up with 124. So, work on collecting these. Now, I will tell you that it's difficult to find their mailing addresses. So you have to be a snoop, a detective, and you'll find most of them, but some of them take a while. And you've got to have well, you can post to their blog, but then if you want to send an email, you need an email address, and if you want to send a printed book, you need a postal address. It's going to take a little time, but this is a valuable resource because you're going to use it over and over again. And if you have a book on breeding Persian cats and you know someone else who has a book on that subject, you're not competitors, you're conspirators. And you can share that list with the other person. You could rent it to them, you could sell it to them, you could trade lists, you could work together on that. And it's valuable, and it's not of much use to anybody else if they are breeding Siamese cats. So, you're going to find, so anyway, you don't want to be a blogger to begin with, but you want to be a guest blogger and take advantage of all their thousands and thousands of subscribers with me. In 1972, when my book came out, The Parachute Manual, 600 pages, no one ever disagreed with me again, because I was the published author. So there's a lot of power in being a published author. And you may be surprised at how powerful you are when you finally get that book out. Remember that bloggers need material. They're always looking for something. So you send them a book, they don't get very many books that are right on their subject, breeding Persian cats. And so I'm kind of pleased that you thought of them. I mean, after all, you're a credible person, you're an authority, you wrote the book. And so then they feel kind of obligated about writing something about your book. And then they put the book on the shelf. And every once in a while, they're trying to think of something to put in their blog, and go ahead and they pull it down off the shelf to see what they can find in there and spark their imagination. So that book is working for you over and over again. You are going right to the converted, and they are writing stuff for the converted, self-selected people from all over the world. So, be a guest blogger, don't start your own. The new book reviewers are the book bloggers. There aren't many book reviewers left. And where are they going to print the book review? In a magazine? Have you seen any magazines around lately? I mean, they're like brick and mortar bookstores. They're downsizing, consolidating, going out of business. Now, you know, I like magazines, I like bookstores. That has nothing to do with it. I'm just the reporter. I'm just reporting what I've seen and what I know you've seen. So, what you want to do is go and make a list of all the bloggers on your subject. And I like to use an Excel spreadsheet. So I can put the name of the blog and the blogger's name, and then as much address information as I can find. And then I'll go back later on and try to add additional information like email addresses, website addresses, telephone, fax, and so on. So this is constantly building, it's constantly getting better, it's constantly becoming more valuable. And you will be using it over and over again. I want to give you permission to spend time online in your field. I'm not talking about Facebook. Okay. In your field. And be constantly looking for opportunities in the various social media outlets. Your Google alerts will alert you to people who are looking for subject matter that you're writing on. And you want to get involved. Not an addition. And you want to get involved with these discussions so that people begin to recognize your name and begin to recognize your book and realize that you are out there, you wrote the book, you're an important person, you're a personality. Now, down here at the bottom is something called sizzle reels. Well, we don't have PowerPoint. So, it's usually about 30 seconds. It's very, very bouncy, loud music, and it shows you in action. And these are done by Rocky Lang right here in the Los Angeles area. You can go on his website to get more information on what he does. But sizzle reels are designed for Hollywood people who are trying to sell a project to investors. And so it tends to be real bouncy. It's got to get their attention. It's just it's very, very interesting. There's no reason why you can't use it for books. The next thing I want to point out are the book awards. These are the Global eBook Awards. There are cards on your table, and I want you to go to that website and see more about it. There is no question that ebooks are the future. Now, I'm not saying that we won't have printed books. Yes, we'll have printed books. But the ebooks are faster, easier, cheaper to produce. And and more people are reading, and now we're selling more ebooks than we are p-books. And so that's really the future. It's in the ebooks. And we've tried to bring attention to the ebooks with the Global eBook Awards. So you might want to go to the website and see what that's all about. The next page is your signature. I didn't ask for a raise of hands on how many of you have a signature at the end of your emails. But I will tell you, I don't want anybody to be embarrassed. Most of you don't. And those of you who do haven't looked at it for a long time. you want people to know who you are, what you do, how to find you. If you have a business card, you need a signature at the end of your email. It costs you absolutely nothing. It's posted to the end of your emails every time you write one. It just doesn't make sense to be hiding. If you weld your mailbox shut, you won't get mail either. It's crazy. But most people, I know that most of you don't have signatures at the end of your email, because I get lots and lots of questions. I answer them all myself. And sometimes people don't even sign a first name. And I quite often think, why am I answering this? But many people don't use a signature at the end of their emails. So here's an example here of one that I had not too long ago. And it's very easy today with a PC or a Mac to add a picture. You can put the picture of your book cover, or you can put your own picture there. That adds a nice touch. And of course it's all in color and looks very nice. And it's so easy to do. It'll probably take you 15 minutes the first time because you have to figure out how to do it. But then you can make changes to it. For example, I say here, speaking in Singapore, Cape Town next. You know, it takes me 15 seconds to make that change. So as I'm going around the world, I'm changing that every 3 days. And it has a very, very good effect because people will often write and say, where are you now? I mean, it kind of brings to their attention that you're traveling, that you're speaking, writing in other places. During the next few slides, I'd like it if you take a moment to fill out this evaluation form and let me know how I'm doing. Don't bother to write that you couldn't see the PowerPoint, because then we'll know how stupid you are. Don't write and say, Dan, you shouldn't go out speaking when you're sick. My doctor told me today that I'm not contagious. And
How are you going to go viral if you're not contagious?
Actually, about 3 weeks ago, I was out on my walk and I twisted and I fell. I did a face plant right in the pavement. I was all smashed up here, and I went to the ICU, and then they kept me in the emergency room, and then they kept me in the ICU overnight. And I called up my doctor, who's a GP, and said, can I fly to Michigan to speak? He said I would advise against it. Oh, and I had blood in the cranium. So what do you do if you don't like what your doctor tells you? I called my hematologist. He said it's perfectly all right, you can fly. Anyway, so I appreciate if we would fill out the slide there and tell me how much you like the PowerPoint, paperpoint presentation, or whatever. Okay, then, also I started passing around the sign-up sheet for the Publishing Pointers newsletter. How many of you get the Publishing Pointers? Okay. Boy, that's not very many. Okay, that's like 10%.
Can I speak to that, Dan?
Excuse me?
It's not just a newsletter. He does things free for you, gets reviews for your book, allows you to send in tips that he then credits. Sign up for his newsletter. Ask for the paper to go around again if you haven't done it already.
Yeah, so I hope it's making it from table to table. I'm also passing around the Global Speakers newsletter sign-up sheet because I'm the editor for that. So if you're interested in speaking about your book in other countries, that has all the information on how to do that.
E-newsletter as well, Dan, or just a newsletter?
Oh no, it's email. I mean, they go all over the world. Can you imagine all the licking,
I
sticking,
was wondering
sorting,
if you're trying to
sucking?
copy Irwin on the mailing.
No, we're in the 20th century, 21st century. Okay, so that brings us down to some questions before we close this up. Any questions?
Yes.
me or from behind?
There's a microphone in the
In the back.
Tell them to use the microphone.
Okay. People with questions, please see the microphone. I just follow this young lady to the back.
Hi, how are you? Well, I want to thank you first for giving this presentation. This was extremely helpful for me because I just published my first book with actually Irwin Zucker's guidance, so I'm thankful for that. It's Mathophobia, How You Can Overcome Your Math Fears and Become a Rocket Scientist. So the great news is that it was recently published in February, and I have taken the steps in which, the majority of the steps in which you suggested, getting online, Facebook, I have followers, getting on blogs, and now I am going to take your suggestion about Wikipedia because I'm not on there. My question for you is twofold. One, what do I immediately do within the next 90 days to get this information out there to a massive
Start
amount
over.
of people?
What do I need?
Yeah. What should I do in the next 90 days to get this information out to the mass media public? So that's the first question. And the second question is, this might sound just technical, but I really enjoyed the question or the suggestion about putting your signature in your emails. Should I also put that on my website, or do I not do it?
Oh, absolutely. I can't believe these people who have a website, they want you to send them money, but they won't tell you who they are or where they are. You want to look like you're a regular business and people can find you. What are you hiding from? Business? So, I want to say something else. I use the term, how do I get my information out to a mass audience? You don't want to. You're wasting your time, you're wasting their time. Let's take the example of breeding Persian cats. You're not interested in cat people or Persian cat people, only people who are breeding Persian cats. So it's very, very narrow. And so you want to figure out who your market is and then focus just on those people because nobody else cares. Those people are devoted to it. They care, but everybody else doesn't. So don't waste your money and don't waste their time.
Okay, that answers my question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and so do Google searches. It's a wonderful free search engine. And do Google searches and just start building your list. And you'll see one thing leads to another, it gets better and better.
All right, thank you.
Microphone.
Thank you, Dan. My name is George Hassan. My question is, have you, or anyone in fact in here, had experience of somehow your blog getting wiped out totally? And whenever I write, and next day there's NOPE only on top, and the whole thing is gone. And I do write about the Sharia, Shia, jihadis, terrorists, and Palestine, Israel, whatever.
Yeah, well, don't write something about Michael Jackson because most people fortunately, I haven't had that experience, but maybe somebody else in the room has, and it can lead to somebody who's had that experience. I don't know what to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joyce, and I produce CDs on different topics, one of which is bereavement. Bereavement for when a person loses someone they love, for their dog, their cat, and I'm doing one right now on a horse. Also written a book on how to plan your own funeral if someone else will. So what I'm realizing is if I can get really great endorsements on them, I get more people who look at the back and things like that. And I was wondering, what's the chances of me getting an endorsement from you, and how do I get other famous people to give me endorsements?
Okay, let's
Not to put you on the spot there, but
no,
yes, to do that.
testimonials, endorsements. You are looking for people who have a recognizable name or a recognizable title to your audience. A person could be a politician because they have a recognizable title. I've got testimonials from Barbara Gahn's husband, who is past Assistant Secretary of the United Nations. Now, most people haven't heard of Romeo Mueller, but they recognize the United Nations, so that's a recognizable title. And that's what you're looking for. You want somebody to pick up your book, and they'll see the 3 testimonials, and you want them to relate to at least one of those. And nobody reads what they say, and it's going to be 1 or 2 sentences. People just want to know who cares. It can be Sally Smith if she's the national president of the whatever association that the book is about. It could be a politician, it could be a newspaper or magazine editor.
How do I get someone famous that they would know? Like I tried to get people through SAG, and I'm just going
Okay.
around and...
Probably the publicists
Okay.
and management.
There are 2 steps. Number 1, you go through your first draft, second draft, third draft, fourth draft. The third one is what we call peer review. That's where you send a chapter out to at least 4 people for feedback. And that way, you've done your homework because you realize that they are experts on that chapter. It's their favorite subject, so it gets past the secretary, and they read it, and they get to know you, they get to like you, they start putting comments in the margins. And then, about 3 weeks later, you go back and say, thank you so much for the contribution that you made. You know, I'd love to have a testimonial for my back cover. I know you're very busy. I was thinking of something like this. You write it for them, because they don't even know how long it should be. And so you write it, and by the way, it's going to be 1 or 2 sentences, not very long, because you don't have a lot of room on the back cover. And you'll find that 80% of these people will get back to you and say, shh, go with it, it looks great. And 5% will add a couple superlatives and make it even better. And 5% will say, oh, that's where you're going. Yeah, but I'd say it this way. I mean, almost all of them get back to you by return email. And it's things that I discuss. I even give you the letters in my books on publishing to show you how to write.
I have it, yeah, that's been very helpful.
So,
Okay, great.
next victim.
Hi, my name is Tony DeMarco, and I've just written a book called Heartgasm. And it's about how to have a great relationship, and by the way, fabulous sex. So, it's coming out in about a week or 2. Self-published through Hay House's Balboa Press. So my question is, you were talking about your copyright and getting it extended to a later date. How do you do that? Maybe I still have time before my book goes to print.
I have been post-dating my books for 25 years. And I always figured that if Detroit could come out with new cars in September, why couldn't I come out with new books in September? And now you find almost all the publishers do it. It's just normal.
So it says that published, whatever it is, today's date, it's going to come out in
Well,
about a week.
I mean, let's
So
say
post date till September?
2/12, and I just put copyright 2/13.
Okay, thank
What's
you.
really sad is when somebody comes out with a book in December and they put the current date on it, because less than a month later it looks like it's old stuff.
Right.
And people in the book industry are very conscious of the date. I mentioned that look at the front cover, the back cover, they open it up to the copyright page, and it's dated. It's last year's book. Not interested.
How far out can you go?
Well, I've seen some people push it, but I've always gone with Labor Day. But,
Just 1 year then?
well, Labor Day and the next year. Yeah.
Just one, not...
No, I wouldn't put it.
One more question.
I have seen books that were post-dated 5 years, but
You said you get a posting by Andy Davis. I missed the middle name. Was it A. Davis?
I think it's just Andy W. isn't it?
Andy
on the
W.
slide.
Davis?
On the slide?
Yahoo.com. Okay, I have to go back and look at that. And by the way, I did get an endorsement from Larry King. He says, I love this book. It makes you want to be younger. Thank you very much.
Makes you want to be, but it doesn't help.
There's a recognizable name, so.
You don't recognize the name? Okay. Oh, what's the recognizable name? Good. Thank you. And I love your books. Thank you, Dan.
Hi, Dan. I acknowledged you in my first book, The Mail Thing Explained, which I gave you a copy of a few years back. And I just published my second book, which is Faith Alliance Healing Journey Back to Innocence, Lessons on Forgiveness. And you mentioned Robert Mueller, and whom I met, and I know his wife, Barbara. And I wanted a quote from Robert in this book, so I contacted Barbara. And so he said, "To forgive is the highest, most beautiful form of love. In return, you will receive untold peace and happiness." He was just a brilliant, wonderful man in his day. My question has to do with something I think we all need to learn, and that has to do with search engine optimization in terms of our website, and what should we have on our website in order to get people to find us, even when they're not actually looking for us?
Well, that's beyond tonight's presentation, and I would not hold myself out to be an SEO expert. There are a lot of people out there who can answer those questions, but I'm not one of them, not at this time. What I'd like to do tonight is give you the basics, the foundation, the things that are really easy to do. And by the way, as you do these things, you learn more.
Correct.
It just gets better and better, and you meet people who are wonderful, who will give you more information, and more people who want to buy your book. It's just...
Okay, well, that being the case, I would recommend that we Google search engine optimization to learn really what it is about, because that's how people find us. It's the words that we put out, on the web. And when people are looking for love or sex or whatever, if you have those keywords in your website, that will help drive people to find your website. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Dan. You've been very helpful to me in the past. I'm Linda DeVillers. I've written my second book, Simple Sexy Food, 101 Tasty Aphrodisiac Recipes and Sensual Tips to Stir Your Libido and Feed Your Love. And very apropos for tomorrow. I have two questions. One is that I went to Publishing University last spring, and I did indeed hear you among other people. And I was told that my book, which at that time was in galley form, was very much a gift book. So one of the questions has to do with special sales, and I feel at a loss about how exactly, whether I need to hire somebody to help me with that, or how to do that. That question is more important to me than another. I now have a distributor. It's almost seeming like a mixed blessing to me, but bottom line is the book is on Amazon. I had to take it off Amazon Advantage so that the distributor could put it up. And all of a sudden there's a middling, one single review of the book written by one of the people that apparently Amazon hires professional reviewers. This woman has written thousands of reviews. And it's sort of, I know how to dilute what I don't like in her review by having other people write reviews, I guess. Is that the primary solution? Any other solution? Most important, the special sale question.
Well, all of these are very technical and individual questions. And again, it's what we're talking about here tonight. And you might want to get into somebody, Aaron Shepard, or somebody who is an expert on Amazon. And then, and if you were to do that, I would spend some time on Amazon, look at all your listings, make some printouts so that you know what questions you're asking, and make use of his time, and make it valuable to you.
That E-R-I-N or A-A-R-O-N?
A-A-R-O-N Shepard.
Okay, got it.
But you asked another question before that, and I was going to write it down. And
the special sale.
Okay, you're talking two different things. Number one, you talked about special sales, and the other was the gift market.
Gift market is probably...
Well, those are two different things.
Okay.
And again, you can get people who are experts on those two particular subjects. To reach the gift market, you normally do that through a gift distributor. Not a book distributor, but somebody who goes to the shows and does gifts. But the other one, what was it?
Special sales?
Special sales. These are called, well, it's only the book trade that calls them special sales. That means we don't sell those in bookstores. But the special sales are usually sold in large quantities to one company. Could be a bank or something. And they invite people to come into the store and get a free book and so on. They get people across the threshold. Well, to do that, you've got to figure out what is a good match, what kind of store, and hopefully a chain type store, so that you're not selling to one shop, but you're selling to a whole bunch of them. And so it's you have to look at the products and think what would be a good match, what would get them excited, what would bring people into the store, and make it worth their while. Retailers have a major challenge. First and foremost is getting people across the threshold the first time. So what can you do to help them get people in? And so there's a difference between the special sales and the premium sales.
Thank you.
Dan the Soul Mashaka, I gave you a copy of the Priorities of Life chart up there. I had a dozen questions before I came tonight, and you've answered all of them but one. Thank you. I developed this Priorities of Life chart 28 years ago, and it's been used professionally for 28 years, and now I decided that I'm writing the book. So I started writing the book, and I decided to publish the chart to kind of create some buzz for the book. So I did the website, and I'm selling the charts and what have you, and then to publish a book about a year from now. What do you think about that approach?
I kind of lost you on that.
The approach of selling the chart, and then the book is going to be about the chart. So the chart is to create buzz for the book.
Well, normally what you, this is a chart that can't be glued into the book.
It will be, but the book's not finished. So I wanted to create buzz before the book comes out.
Just generally speaking, I really get anxious when people are talking about getting buzz, getting people talking about their book when it's not available. What are you doing if it's not available? Why try to get somebody excited and say, oh, it'll be June or July? I mean, yes.
How soon before a book is published do you try to get buzz then?
28 seconds. No, seriously, I know a guy who built a flying device, and Popular Science came and did an article in Popular Science, but the thing wasn't quite ready yet. And about 5 months later, when it was ready, he went back to Popular Science and they said, oh yeah, we know about that, we covered you.
Okay. Thank you.